Hi, I'm Enchanting Nubian Net. Welcome back. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. Everyone, this new story focuses on the pain behind professional titles, such as mental health, domestic violence, controlling behavior, and even envy of your own spouse or partner. This new story focuses on James Anderson. He was a respected special education teacher and even the chair of the special education department at Santa Fe Middle School in Texas. Now, on paper, he was a kind of educator that we would all root for, working in an underserved community, helping kids with learning differences, and showing up every single day. But behind closed doors, something was very broken. Now, back in September 2023, James's wife, Victoria Anderson, made a chilling 911 call. Now, she told dispatchers that her husband was threatening to pew her. And moments later, everyone, the dispatcher heard the firing of a weapon. So sadly. Heartbreaking. And when the police arrived at their home in Kingwood, James had barricaded himself inside the home. Now, all along during this time of, this domestic violence and when he committed this crime, even more heart-wrenching, their 3-year-old son was still in the house. But because he barricaded himself, hours had passed before James surrendered. So this even led to even more of the tragedy because his wife didn't even have the chance to even be revived or for anyone to help her in a quick amount of time. So by the time the officers found Victoria, she already had passed from the weapon wound. Now let's fast forward to September 26th. Now James Anderson, he was in court and so-called he was ready to plead guilty and accept a 35-year prison sentence. But was he, everyone? Because listen to this. Before the judge could even speak, James collapsed on the floor. Now the bailiff tried to revive him with naloxone. The EMS even rushed him to Ben Taub Hospital, but he was pronounced transitioned at 11:05 a.m. So do you think he really was ready to serve any sentence? I don't. So this man was about to face the consequences of a horrific act that he did. But instead of justice being served in full, the story ended, this news story, this crime, this horrible domestic violence crime, ended with his sudden passing. So there was no closure for Victoria's family and no answers for their son, just a trial of trauma. And here's a part that hits the hardest. James was even out on a $300,000 bond. He was walking free, still breathing, of course, until that very moment he wasn't. So even after that horrific crime that he definitely did, and he made sure she couldn't even get help by locking himself inside the house for those hours. When the courtroom date was upon him for that chapter of the story, for him to get his for him to be held accountable, for him to get his consequences, that wasn't even written because he made plans. And I can say it strategically on YouTube. However, let's focus now, everyone, because I really believe that when James collapsed moments after arriving at the 208th District Court in Houston, where he was about to plead guilty to M, and ending in R, his wife, Victoria Anderson. I really believe, and it does say here that according to the Harris County Precinct 1 Constable Alan Rosen, that James ingested substances before his sentencing. Rosen even posted a video outside the courtroom saying that the defendant had taken something while awaiting sentences. And that's the reason why the lock zone was used, because it's not even the standard unless there's a suspicion of an overdose. So right now, everyone, the autopsy is pending, and the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences is conducting an autopsy to determine the exact cause of passing. So while we don't have the final word yet, all signs, definitely, I fully believe it, all signs point to the possible intentional overdose. Or the other alternative could be a medical reaction to substances taken before court. And people are wondering, like, why would he do that? I believe that he didn't want to face the consequences, and even though he used his force and he committed horrible acts on his wife, he wasn't man enough to tolerate or to take what was coming to him, especially in jail. Some folks are speculating that this could have been a last-minute attempt to avoid prison. Other people wonder if he had an underlying health issue that made the drugs that he took even more dangerous. Probably if it was a concoction, especially if you're taking medicine in the morning and then you take something else right after. It could have been that. But either way, it's very tragic and it's definitely deeply upsetting. So everyone, please leave in the comments what you think about this, because this story is definitely a wake-up call. It's definitely a wake-up call for everyone to stay safe when you're in a relationship, a friendship. And I would say, especially as a woman, you have to stay aware. And definitely, people, you need to have close ties so that people could check up on you. But the first thing is, I would say, if you're in a relationship and someone is very aggressive, maybe someone is envious or jealous of you and definitely take advantage of you verbally, assault you verbally and also physically, you need to get out. Do not even let it escalate into, this type of trauma. You have to check on people because your loved ones could definitely be hurting. And, regarding to James Anderson, I believe that he needed to have, mental health support within the community, especially to prevent, it could have been perhaps prevented this domestic violence situation, this crisis. And I also have to say that, this entire situation is layered with so much trauma. It's him with his mental health issues. I don't know. It's amazing how people can mask, their issues and, their pain and their toxicity, because how did he, not only he was a teacher, but he was also on, the head of special ed. And many people, of course, looked up to this man. They sought his advice. And meanwhile, his home life is in shambles, especially for what he was doing to his wife and to his 3-year-old child. People could just wear a real mask, because I'm sure so many people in the community just would never think that this was going on with him. It's like he's playing a role for everyone. So, this is an eye opener. It's tragic. May his wife, Victoria Anderson, rest in peace. And I really and truly hope that their 3-year-old son is being taken care of, perhaps by relatives that are very loving, nurturing, and can give him all the security he needs, you know, mentally, emotionally, financially, of course, or he's adopted by a loving family. But I do hope that, his son, now that he's not in that situation, that toxic environment, I do hope and pray that he's in a loving, kind home where he can grow up until he becomes an adult. So, what do you think about the story, everyone, about James Anderson, being a special education teacher and, being even a chair in the special ed department? Please leave your comments below. Maybe you have heard of this story or just have the feedback regarding, what took place in this case. And, do you think that he could have taken substances before his court date? Or maybe he was taking medicine and there was a conflict with the combination of the ingredients. We'll definitely have to look out for the autopsy report. I'm really curious about this, very intrigued. So again, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Stay safe wherever you are, and keep your head on a swivel, always.
In the last few hours, a Cleveland ISD special education teacher had a bond set for in court for killing his wife. This happened in the Kingwood area on Vista Ridge Drive. Aniele Ruiz joins us live from outside the Harris County Jail now with the latest. Aniele?
Well, we do know that he appeared in court just a few hours ago, and through these court documents, we were able to uncover that, just like you said, he is a teacher. Now, investigators say this all stemmed yesterday, they believe, from some kind of domestic issue or a pending divorce. Now, take a look. This is the suspect's mugshot. 37-year-old James Paul Anderson. He's being charged with murder after investigators say he allegedly shot and killed his wife Sunday night in Kingwood. This started after investigators say the wife called 911 saying her husband was threatening to shoot her. Police say the call taker reportedly heard a gunshot while the woman was on the phone. When officers arrived, they asked her husband to step outside the house. He refused, but allowed their 3-year-old son to get out of the home. SWAT members responded, and after several hours, Anderson surrendered to officers. They went inside the home and found the 34-year-old woman was dead. Victim advocates tell us they're saddened to hear the news like this, but want to let people know there's help for women who find themselves in difficult situations.
If somebody's leaving the relationship, leaving, a shared home, whatever the case may be, then when a perpetrator is losing that power and control is when we see violence escalate. So it's not enough just to get out safely, even just having some safety planning in place. I always think like beforehand, during, and then even after.
On the Cleveland ISD website, this is a picture they have of Anderson. Cleveland ISD confirmed he's a special education department chair for the Santa Fe Middle School. And in a statement, they said they're saddened to hear of the tragic domestic violence situation involving one of the staff members there at Santa Fe Middle School, James Anderson. Mr. Anderson had been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the ongoing investigation. Now, we just checked court records. His bond was was set at $300,000 today. He still has not bonded out. He's inside here, the Harris County Jail. We also did contact CPS to see where his 3-year-old son, and they tell us he is with family members and is okay. Reporting live, Anayeli Ruiz,